read, I'm a voracious reader, but I'm not academic, I'm not any of those things. I'm just kind of a regular, average person that has some energy and likes to take on tasks. So I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. Well, at some point, I was sitting in the audience and I said, I have to do something. Really, it's my turn. And that's what I'm hoping to introduce to you guys today, is that maybe you're at that point yourself. I want to do something more. I just don't really know what to do. I don't know what needs to be done. I don't know who to join. I don't have a lot of time. I hear that all the time. And to be honest with you, nobody has the time. We don't want those people who are sitting around. I mean, I don't know what life you think you're going to have. I'm retired, and I'm full-time doing this now. There is no time when you're going to be free. It's always you're going to be busy. And that's what we want. We want busy people doing things, because busy people know how to manage and get things done, and get things done in an orderly manner. So if you're saying to yourself, I like some of these ideas, but I don't have time, well, that's fine. So thank you for being here at CSICon. How many people are first-time CSICon people? Yeah. Oh my gosh! Give them a hand. Oh my gosh, that's half the room. I don't know, did anybody here TAM people? TAMs? Okay, just a very small amount of them. Well, this is TAM, but better. Okay, so we have a pajama party on Saturday night, don't forget. Just come as you are, I don't care. So really the idea of activism, the first step is it's about the people, it's about us. So much we see people with protest signs, and we see people trying to change laws and all these kinds of things. Yes, it's all important, but the first step is to meet people, to go to a conference and sit down across from them and say, hi, my name is Susan, what's your name? Callie. That's exactly what we need to do, and find out what Callie does and what maybe her interests are. Maybe she's listening to a podcast that I would find interesting, or maybe, hi.
I'm Buck.
Hi, nice to meet you, I'm Susan. You know, what book has he read? Who is he here to see? Who's the speakers that you're here to see?
I really want to see Stephen Fry and Richard Dawkins.
Richard Dawkins and Stephen Fry. So, and I bet you'll meet some that you'll go, I didn't even know about that person. Oh man, they were the best. You're going to go, oh my gosh, this is the best. And you're going to make contacts with people. And I don't want to be like church and everything where you have to turn around and hug somebody and shake their hand. We're not going to do that, okay? But my point is when you guys go to a meal, or when you're sitting with somebody in a lecture somewhere, everybody here is just as happy to meet you as you are to meet them. We're all like-minded people on most of the topics. There's going to be a little percentage of people here who do not agree with you on some things, and that's the magic of this. You're going to meet people, like we found 2 PA people. How many people here are from Philadelphia besides the 2 I mean? There's him, Philadelphia. There's another one. I saw 2 people in here. But so you're going to make contacts with each other. You're going to mention, hey, did you know that we meet on the 3rd Friday of every month? And this one says, oh no, did you know that, you know? And that's how you're going to find people and meet them. Okay. So I'm going to be doing some case studies, like a psychologist or something, okay? And we're going to do some case studies of activism. And we're going to start off with things in the past, and some of them are very small, as far as, you know, maybe one day, one activity that somebody did. And I also don't want to focus on any of the pseudoscience of it. Just take it for granted that whatever I'm talking about, I've already researched, there's already BS. It's already pseudoscience, we already know that. So I'm going to be talking about psychics, I'm going to be talking about facilitated communication, I'm going to be talking about Scientology, I'm going to be talking about some different things, and I already want you to assume that's BS, all right? So even if you're into psychics, but you're not into the other stuff, just go along with it, okay? Because it's the story that I'm telling you that's more important. And from the stories I'm going to tell you, hopefully you're going to get ideas, and you're going to say, I could do that, or you know, we've been always wanting to do that, or maybe I have a suggestion. This is just to get your brain going, and that's why we're doing it Thursday, because you guys are not sleep deprived, right? So when you go to the buffet or dinner or whatever, when you see people with the name tags, don't eat alone. Go and introduce yourself to somebody at a table somewhere. I'm sure they'll be happy to have a chair at their table. Please make contacts with people. You're always welcome to have another chair at my table if there's room. If not, we'll form another table. But the whole idea is that you could be listening to these lectures on YouTube or something. That's done. You're here to actually meet people and get more active in things. Okay, so you'll notice here, abouttimeproject.wordpress.com. This is my website. And everything that I'm going to be talking about today has links to like a URL to some article. I'm going to be talking about the article in brief because obviously we don't have that much time. Even though we have a lot of time, it's really going to go fast. I hope you guys won't be, don't feel like it's dragging. But you'll be able to go to our website. You can take a picture of this with your phone if you want. I'm going to show this slide several times. And on our website, you'll find a little thing that says CSICon URLs or Activism Workshop. And there you'll be able to find links to all the things that I'm talking about today, that you can read about in depth, okay? Also, every time I show the clock, I'm gonna probably break for a couple questions if we can stay on time, and then we'll go to the next topic, because I have a lot of different things to go over with you. So, About Time is a nonprofit. And we do have a donate button on there. And all of my activism is under the name About Time. And from there, you're going to get links to all the other activism things that I do. And as far as donating, we really don't need money to do activism so much, but what we use the money for is for us to go and lecture and talk to other skeptic groups. And I travel all over the world and talk to people about Wikipedia and that kind of thing. So it's important for us to be able to, because small groups, has anybody had me in one of your small groups anywhere? I've been all over. Where was I at?
Here.
Oh. But I go to all over small groups, maybe 10 people, maybe 30 people, and they can't afford to have my expenses and stuff, so my nonprofit covers all the expenses so I can actually get to the local small groups. That's really where we need to be, is talking to the local small groups. Okay. So, I want to keep friendly and I want to keep on time, but I also want to keep, you guys have questions and stuff like that. Some of the questions will be answered on the website, so I may just kind of say, I'm sorry, it's a great question, but you'll have to get that from the website. So the first thing we're going to do, any questions so far? My name is Susan Gerbic. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is Web of Trust. Anybody use Web of Trust? Oh, excellent. Okay. So I'm going to sum this up really quickly for you. Web of Trust is a crowdsourced activism. It's on Chrome. I believe it's on Safari. It's on a few different things. I don't think it's on phones yet. But what Web of Trust does is it has already been downloaded 140 million times. And what it does is it resides on your computer. It's a little icon in the right-hand corner, at least it is on Chrome. A little icon on my computer that looks like this green circle. And you, every one of you can go and rate a website. It takes like 10 seconds. So if you go to a website and it's like natural news, or it's spam, or it's a psychic, or it's a raw milk person, or whatever, you can click on the button and you rate it. You can rate it for spam, you can rate it for malware, you can rate it for misleading content, you can rate it for unsafe for work, you can rate it for not safe for children. And what it does is that hundreds, if not thousands of people change that website to be, so other consumers who have Web of Trust, and by the way, this is free, they understand that they're going to a good website or a bad website. Now, here, this is probably the only plugin I'm going to talk about, but this is just, it takes just a few minutes to go on, and what it will do is it will give you an alarm. Let me see if this next screen shows it. Okay, so there's safe, suspicious, and unsafe. And there's also one icon that's silver. That means it's a brand new website. I think this will make sense in a minute. Okay, so this is just a screenshot of my computer. I have Web of Trust on. How many people here have tried to download something that you're like, oh God, I got to download whatever, Windows 10, whatever, some plugin or something that you need to download. And if you have Web of Trust turned on, you will see these little circles. And some places will try to look like a regular website because they want you to go there because it's malware. But they mirror it, like phishing. So if you have Web of Trust turned on, you can see not to go to this site here, windows10portal.com/download uTorrent. But this one right here is safe. It's been rated safe. This is unsafe, this is safe. And this means it's a brand new website, so be careful going there. Now the reason why I mention this is because we all have those family members and friends in our family that you know have no business going to Vitamins R Us or whatever, you know, Supplements R Us, and you know it's a dangerous place for them to go because they believe everything, or you know, they don't have that critical thinking skill that, well, maybe they do, but they don't have that on the internet. It's on the internet, it must be real, one of those people. So here's an example of the Brzezinski Clinic. Anybody Brzezinski Clinic knowledgeable? Okay, we talk about them all the time. Yeah, we've been very active with the Brzezinski's Clinic. And you can see that these are yellow and these are green. So the Wikipedia page for the Brzezinski Clinic is safe. Go there, no problem. But don't go to the Brzezinski.movie.com because we consider you're not going to get malware, but you're going to get bad information. And we kind of say that's like spam, or that's just not helpful. So if you've got one of those people in your family and you know who we're talking about, you're going to say, Aunt Elizabeth, Aunt Elizabeth, I have this thing that's going to save you from malware and viruses and things on your computer. Let me borrow your computer for a minute. And you go and you download Web of Trust. And you give them very simple instructions. You say, if you see a red thing that come up on your screen when you try to go to a website, it's dangerous, don't go there, turn around and go back. And it'll have a big red warning sign. If you see a yellow thing, then that's cautious, probably not a good idea to go there. And if it's green, go for it. So you just give them that little simple instruction. Maybe you can steer Aunt Elizabeth away from some of those psychics or supplements or dangerous pages that you probably don't want her to go to because you know you care about Aunt Elizabeth, right? Okay, so that's Web of Trust. I also want to give you an overview any questions on Web of Trust, by the way? Yes, Mark? Bertha?
How do you know that the people rating the websites are trustworthy?
That's a good question. How do you know that the people who are rating the websites are trustworthy? Because it takes thousands I think it takes thousands to actually change a vote. And also, I found this out in the paranormal community, they are extremely unorganized and apathetic. So for them to say to themselves, oh my gosh, for them to say, let's all get together and rate our website good, it's not likely to happen. Or we'll find out because they'll just post it somewhere and everybody goes, oh. We get that with Wikipedia all the time. People will say, my Wikipedia page is a mess. Could somebody come over and fix my website, my Wikipedia page? And we're like, oh, thank you for just announcing that you want your Wikipedia page to be fixed. We'll lock that page and we'll make sure nobody can edit it because we know you've just sent people to your Wikipedia page to be fixed. It happens all the time. And so Web of Trust is one of those things that takes thousands of people to actually change it. We do know that some places like SylviaBrown.com, remember the psychic Sylvia Brown, and we know the Brzezinski Clinic has actually started a new website because their old website had the red tag on it. So we know that they are very aware of it, and that they said, oh, we got to get rid of our website, so now we have to build a new website with a completely different URL. So there are other organizations that are doing a lot of activism. So I'm not going to mention them all. The Good Thinking Society with Michael Marshall in Britain, he's doing amazing work, especially with homeopathy. And the Australian skeptics are extremely great at doing a lot of activism. Several other organizations out there that are doing a terrific job. So my organization, About Time, isn't the only one that's doing activism. There are other organizations that are doing some great activism. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about something. Oh, I'm going to do this real quick. So as I'm going through the slides, this is the only time I'm going to do this. I want you to this is Susan's one-on-one on how to do activism. And it seems really simplistic, you guys, but people skip these steps all the time. So what you're going to do is when you define what it is you're going to do, you need to define it to keep focused on that task. And also you need to figure out who the target is. And I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to show you a couple things in a minute. And then how do you know when you're done? I know that seems really silly, but people come into this and they say, we're going to end homeopathy. Okay, that's nice. But how specifically are you going to do that? What specific task are you going to do? Because you just can't end homeopathy. What specific task? And who is the target audience? Because that is how you're going to aim your activism. And then, how do I know when I'm done? Because you kind of need to know when you're done. The next thing to do is, who's on your team. And we hear this a lot where people say, my local team is going to take on task A. And it's like, well, maybe your local team isn't the best group to do it, because you're telling your friends and people that you like, hey, I want you to be on my team, I want you to be on my team, you're on my team, and you're on my team. And maybe these people don't really want to do it. And you're going to get people who flake out, or they say that they want to be on the team just because they're polite, they don't know how to say no. What you need to do is to find your team. You need to say, I'm going to be doing this task, it's going to last a month, who else wants to be on my team? And you'll get people from all over the place who want to be on your team. And that's how I've been successful. I use Facebook to get people from all over the world. And that's how I find activists who want to participate. And I give them like a time frame. This is a task that will last 3 weeks. This is a task that will last 6 months. This is a task that's only going to happen on Facebook. This is a task that's going to involve you writing letters to the paper. You know, give them some idea, and then they volunteer, because people are okay with that. And what does the internet say? This is another one that I hear all the time. People say, we're going to write an article about this, and we're going to educate people. I get that all the time. Who's going to read your article? The choir is going to read your article. Your family's going to read your article. The people you shove it under their nose and say, read this article, are going to say they read your article. But what, if your goal is to educate people, then who is your target? Is your target young moms? Is your target doctors who, you want to give them some information? Is your target the police department? Who is the target? Because how is it best to get that information to that target, not to the choir? We know this stuff already. We can't be constantly preaching to the choir. So you want to find out, and I've had this so many times in other languages, because we activate globally. My projects are all not just specific to English. We really are focusing on other languages as well, because it's too important. We have to get out to other languages. People need to understand in a language they want to read it in. And so it's important that everything we can be translated. And there's stuff in Czechoslovakian or Bulgarian or whatever needs to be translated into English. You can't just rely on Google Translate or somebody to translate it for you and tell you what it says. So that's one of my pet peeves, is we really have to get out of this English-only thing we think we're in. And so I've heard this a lot. People will tell me in some country, let's pick on the Klingons, because I know there's nobody here that's Klingon, right? So we're going to pick on Klingons. So people will say, we're going to get together and we're going to write an article for Klingon people to understand about homeopathy. Okay, that's great. Good job. High five. So what does the internet say about homeopathy in Klingon? And they have no idea. Well, I mean, just insert Klingon as whatever language you really are talking about. I don't want to pick on anybody specifically. But they don't even do that, because yes, you're writing an article that's going to go to 100 people, but what does the general population know about that topic, homeopathy, in the language they want to read it in? And they don't even think that that's important. And number one place they need to go, where is the most important place that you have to have well-written articles with well-cited? Come on. Wikipedia, thank you. It's the 4th most trafficked website in the English language. So if we don't own Wikipedia, we might as well just give up. Because you can write a paper, you can write a book, you can do a blog, you can do a podcast, but if you don't have the Wikipedia page in great, amazing shape first, then just give up. That's how I feel, because that's where people are going to get their information. They're going to go to Google or wherever, type in homeopathy Klingon, and they're not going to get your article. They're going to get a Wikipedia page, probably one of the first pages they're going to get, and if it doesn't say that this is pseudoscience right there at the top, and scientists have researched this, and this is not right, and blah, 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 then you're failing. Go to the internet first, find out what the average citizen is going to find, and think about twice about what you want to do. Make sure that that page is done first. Okay, so that's something I hear all the time. People don't even think of this. And what is your plan? Stay focused. We've tried several topics where I've got people on my team and they're starting to go, you know what would be really interesting is maybe we write an article, this could be a book someday, we could write a book, and they start to go off into that little, I'm like, no. Okay, a book someday, but today, our task, remember, we wrote it down, here's our task, this is what we're doing right now, don't get distracted, and it's really easy to get distracted. Evaluate as you go so that you can make sure that you're staying on track. Sometimes a door will open when you're doing activism that you had no idea was going to open. You may need to go down that door. Change your tactics, but don't get distracted, and that's really common to see. And then this is the last thing that I see so many skeptics groups do. You do activism, and you don't. We learn from each other. We have to know what you did, what went right, what went wrong, what you could do better, what were the results. And you need to do it in a timely manner. And it bothers me so much when I go to conferences and they don't record the lectures. Or they record them, they go to a lot of trouble recording, but they don't release them. And that bugs the crap out of me. So anytime I'm at a conference, I'm recording, because this is not being recorded. Because it's not just you guys, we want to be able to educate lots of people out there. So I have a YouTube channel, Susan Gerbic, and I have lots of CSICon and TAM videos on there from past things that were not recorded. The Sunday lectures that are happening on Sunday here, we'll record those, and you'll see past, like last year's lectures on there, because they didn't record them. But it's important to record them. If you're going to a meetup and you have a lecture there, pull out your phone and record them. Because it's not just this little group that should be getting the information. Let's get it out there so other people can get some information. Okay, here we are. We're ready to start. I know you thought we were started, but we're not. Okay, Skeptic blog. Now, Mark Edward, stand it real quick. This is Mark Edward, who's one of my partners. Not one of my partners, he's my partner. Okay, Mark Edward is ex-psychic who's written a book. He's an expert on psychics. That's because he was in the psychic business for years and wrote a book called Psychic Blues about the psychic business. So Mark and I do a lot of activism together, and we really both focus a lot on psychic. So a lot of the slides I'm going to show you, the things I'm going to show you, are psychic related, and we call them grief vampires, because they're trying to latch onto people's grief and their emotions and trying to get them. Not only to sell them something, it's not about the money necessarily, they're trying to latch onto you for media attention, for other reasons. Because if they could latch onto a missing child's case and they say something out of the 1,000 things they say that kind of ends up being, accurate after they find the child, then they're set. They'll have their own TV show and so on. So we call them grief vampires. It's a phrase that Mark has, who started. He gave us that phrase, and we use it every chance we get. And it's so odd for me not to.
I love candy.
It'll be controlled like that. It's so rare for me not to be in the person behind the camera that it's so nice to have Brian Engler and Carl with a K, who are here today, and this whole conference photographing for the conference, and then also photographing a lot for Wikipedia projects that we're doing. So these guys are great. So going back, Skeptic Blog was a brainchild of Brian Dunning and Michael Shermer. They were going to have these experts in all these different fields, astronomers, psychics, and all this stuff. And then we're going to do a TV show, and they had a pilot, and it was called Skeptologists. Yeah. And so they had for a while, they had the Skeptic Blog. And Mark Edward is a activist, extremely activist-related kind of person. He's a get in the streets kind of thing. The 1960s, give it to the man, performance art kind of stuff. So he's really encouraged me to get a little more out of my shell. So he's always about, let's do something, don't think it over too long. And I know that happens in the skeptic community, and I'm looking at you guys, because we seem to be a lot of that engineer type mentality in our group, where we overthink ourselves to death on a project or something we want to do, to a point where we almost talk ourselves out of doing it, because we're thinking about, and then there's this repercussion, maybe something that might hurt somebody, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God, you're overthinking this, you guys. Let's just do this. We can take care of it. It's not going to harm anybody as well. And the paranormal community is counting on us talking ourselves out of these things. Kelly Faulkner was a psychic medium, intuitive, psychic detective living in Indiana. And Mark stumbled across this woman who was on a TV show, and these are links to all this on the website. She was on WPTA 21 in an ABC affiliate in Fort Worth, Indiana. Okay, so Fort Worth, Indiana thought they were going to do had this really great idea. They were going to put experts on their website, and that at noon you could call in and talk to an expert. Now, they had things like attorneys, a vet, a nurse, architect, and a psychic. So Mark stumbled across this, and he, writing on Skeptic Blog, said, oh no, no. Because not only did it make her, she was able to use the ABC logo on her website, that she was endorsed by ABC, which made her seem even more credible, and so on. So Mark's like, oh no. So one of the ways of doing this is, I don't know anybody here is in management or customer service, or even a principal or a teacher, you don't want to talk to the mad person. You don't want to talk to those people. If you're a principal and somebody says, the parents or my parents want to come and talk to you, principal so-and-so, it's like, oh, whatever you need, no problem, we don't want to knock your parents. You really don't want to have that negativity. You want to just, we can. I was a manager for years, and it was like, oh, what do they need? We'll make them happy. Give it to them, because I don't want to go home stressed out. So a lot of these places just need a little attention. You embarrass them a little bit, and you say, hey, TV station WPTA, why do you have a psychic on your website? That's kind of embarrassing. This is 2016 or whatever it was, and they're like, oh, I don't know. So what Mark did is he started calling up the radio station at the TV station at the noon hour, whenever they're doing it, and he would take on different personas. Old man or whatever, crazy old lady, I don't know what he did. And he would take on these personas and say, oh, my wife died, and I want to talk to Kelly Faulkner. She's going to help me out. And they'd put him on hold. They'd hang up on him. They're like, I don't know who you're talking about. Who's Kelly? He's like, she's on your website, He's like, and they go, we got a plumber on today. He's like, well, no, I want to talk to Kelly. She's on your website. She's your expert psychic. And he kept doing this, and he did this for like 3 days. And he wrote on the blog. He did another blog saying that they keep hanging up on me, but I'm making them very uncomfortable asking them these questions. And then Mark actually finally talked to Kelly on the phone. He called up the psychic, and he asked her, so how is it you're a reporter? How is it that you're on this website? She goes, oh, I did this TV show. I was like on there, and I'm in the little area, and they made me a reporter. She's calling herself a reporter for this TV station, and her website said, you can see right here, it said abc.com something. So she was using the logo, using that as endorsing herself. So Mark kept going on and started asking people to get involved and things like that. And somebody finally did. And this guy, wait, I'll show you a second. There was a man who was an elementary school teacher in Fort Worth, Indiana. He wrote this, and I'm going to read it out loud just because of the video. It says, I found an easy way for Kelly Faulkner to raise $1 million to help save Fort Wayne community schools. I'm very excited about this because I cannot foresee any reason why Kelly wouldn't want to help the education of children, Ramon Bolt. So he wrote this glowing letter about how Kelly could take the $1 million challenge from the James Randi Foundation, take the $1 million and give it to the school teachers. So he did it staying totally in character. And he said, this is the best thing, and he was talking about the schools don't have a lot of supplies, and how the teachers are getting pink slips, and how amazing it would be if she just took this challenge, and boy, the TV station's going to end up coming out looking good, because you guys are going to save all these teachers' jobs. And so he wrote this one letter to the TV thing after Mark is calling up, and they were so uncomfortable that somebody was like embarrassing them, like, you will have a psychic on your website, why do you have a psychic on your website? That they took her off. And it was really great. And I talked to Ramon afterwards. I said, that was great. That was so right on. Nobody thought of doing it. It was just something he did. And he says, oh, it felt great to do that. And he says, and then he was calling them up saying, because they hadn't taken it off yet, so he was calling them. So what's going on with this? Is she ready to do it? He'd send him the application and stuff. He's like, here's a link to the $1 million challenge and all that. Like I said, staying in character. Sometimes that works better. And then he says, my next step, and he didn't get a chance to do this, is he has little ones at home, you know, second, third graders. He's going to have his kids start drawing pictures of Kelly taking, you know, the money and saving to schools and stuff. He's going to start sending them the pictures, drawings from his kids. And he says that was the next step if they didn't do it. And it worked! They took it off. And not only did they take it off, but I bet you anything, I just looked at the website, there's nothing paranormal on their website.
They took her off.
They took her off, but there's nothing on there, because once you start getting these people like, oh, somebody's going to complain about psychics and somebody's going to do this, we better not do it in the future, because you're setting them up. So the target in this case was, Mark was targeting the skeptic community to do something. That was a target. That was actually a goal of his, to get people to think and do something. And the second target was to embarrass this TV station into doing something. So, this is what Ramon got finally back. Kelly is no longer affiliated with Inc. Contact her directly at her website, do a Google search for her. Good luck, Corinne. And she was like the boss. Oh, Corinne, you talked to her too? So this is kind of how she was. In other words, you could tell just from this one sentence, two sentence kind of thing, irritated, you know, you bothered us, and how dare you? You know, she was like, you do it on Google search for her. We don't care. You know, do it yourself. So this is the result we're looking for, and I love that. Okay, so as I said, all that in detail is on my website. The About Time, this place right here. You can get the articles that were written about that. So if you want more detail about how that happened, that's where you're going to find it. So let's move on. Now we're going to do a video. I hope this works. No, first before I get the video, everybody know who John Edward is? Yeah. Okay, no relation to Mark Edward. I put this slide here because I went to his website, and one of the reasons why I went to the website and I wanted to give it to you is because this has got a Web of Trust warning on it. This is what a Web of Trust warning would look like to somebody who has a Google plugin with Web of Trust, and his site is rated as like in the middle, like probably don't go there, Aunt Elizabeth. But this is what it looks like. If it was rated red, with a red circle, then right here across this would be a big square about this big that would be bright red. This is warning, the site has been rated as being a dangerous, you know, blah, blah, blah. So that's what that's all about. So that's John Edward. Now we've done a lot of different psychics, and I'm going to show you some videos of different activism we've done.
Susan, read that top line for us.
It says, careful, this site has 4 customer ratings. View full report, and then also says, don't warn me about this website again. So like if you wanted to go there more often. Oh, thank you for making me do that, reading that, because it is kind of blurry up there. All right. I have no idea if this will work. I've never used videos in here. And if it doesn't work, then we'll act it out. And I hope the volume works. Okay, wait, let me hit a pause because I got to get the volume up. How do we do that? That's not
It's on your projector, so you have to turn it up there.
Okay, so somebody want to do that for me? Who's my volunteer? Hey, we're in a room of tech people, come on.
Tech, please.
IT. Edward was coming to town, and we just got people at random on Facebook and said, hey, we're going to go on this day at this time, and we made signs, and Mark's wearing lights, and he has a shirt that says, I'm psychic, ask me, what does it say in there?
Trust me.
Trust me, I'm psychic. And so the idea was to go to John Edward's thing. So the target in this case is not to educate the people coming to the event. The goal was to activate the community of skeptics to want to do something else, because a lot of time you need that first help, you know, you need to do it once with somebody else because it's intimidating. And then also it was to piss off John Edward. Because we know, and Mark has told us a million times, the psychic up there on the stage is a performer. If you knock them off their game, then the whole quality of the show goes down. They're not going to take the risks they would have taken. They're not going to be as energetic, and the quality isn't so good. And then the people in the audience go, "Oh, John Edward, I remember when he used to be really good. But, you know, it's kind of, you know." So if you knock them off their game and you make them nervous, because guess what? They don't know if somebody sitting in that audience is a skeptic who's going to spring up and make a big banner or something and do. He doesn't know, because guess what? He's not psychic. So he doesn't know. You're all invisible. I don't know if one of you guys could be one of these people who's going to jump up and go, vaccines are bad, you know, skeptics go to hell, you know, whatever. I don't know. It could be one of you. I don't know. But that's the thing, is so he's unlikely. Once you make these psychics uncomfortable and you knock them off their performance, they're unlikely to come back to the venue again. and they're to be uncomfortable, not do more of their work. Oh, we have an idea. So what you're going to see once we get there is a video of some, and it was filmed just like, there was, listen to the reading, and he was mentioning the activists out in front of this thing. So he's talking about how they're, you know, these people out there with blinking lights and this and that.
People are.
Oh, that's good. That's good enough. Okay, this is only like 7 minutes. Thank you, tech crew. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
Coming home to
Lined up inside the building, and we're not allowed to protest inside, but we can go to the doors and see people coming in, and hopefully they'll take a flyer and read the signs.
Like to know the tricks, how it's done? Take a flyer, take a flyer. Trying to find somebody to cross over to the other side.
I just want to talk to them. I just want them to be around me.
I mean, there's going to be people all around you, and they're not spirit people, they're real people. Focus on those people, don't worry about the ones on the other side.
We don't need no phony psychics. We don't need pick up my guitar and play.
Right here, that looks like sidewalk.
Basically, things like this we just have to come across the street.
This isn't county property?
Chris, no, not this, no.
Is it private property?
It is not.
Oh, who owns it?
The Pasadena Operating Center.
Pasadena Operating Center is public property. Everything that Pasadena Operating Center owns is public property. So by law, we're allowed to be on public property. Is this owned by Pasadena?
This is still a private event, though.
Yes, the event is private. That's why we're not inside the event.
Right,
You can't legally move us across the street. This is not private property. This is not private property.
Okay.
This is public property.
We're just gonna make a call then?
Sure, check it out. Thanks.
Thank you.
I mean, they always try to lie to you. Always try to lie to you. If the police tell us to leave, we'll consider that. We are protesting what's happening in there because that man doesn't have the magic powers he's claiming.
I feel great. It's very empowering. Everyone should do this. At least once in their life.
So one guy came out when the security guard was all over us, but he was complaining that we were disrupting the event with our energy. He thinks of it as positive.
I'm not detecting any negative energy. We've been accused of providing negative energy.
Mine is showing some, and it's coming from inside the building.
The funny thing is the guy who works the door there, he's been reading the sign and he's been going laughing about it.
If there was somebody who could talk to dead people, he'd be the most dangerous person on the planet. Am I right?
Police just arrived.
There's nothing in the street
We're here obviously protesting John Edwards, and we want to make sure that we're within the law.
Well, here's the issue. Apparently, you're allowed to protest, without doubt. However, from what I understand from employees here at the Civic Center, is this area where you're protesting is still private property. You guys can protest out here in the sidewalk area and continue doing what you're doing.
According to our research, which we've done extensively.
What is your name, by the way?
My name's Emery. How are you?
Emery Keith Gomez.
Nice to meet you, Keith. This is a plaza owned by the public. In other words, this is the city's, and therefore paid for with tax money. So I think that the security is wrong about our rights.
Sir,
Well, let's do this.
people are renting this.
I'm talking.
Let's do this. I'll verify, because I'm not positive about the plaza area.
Thank you.
Obviously, you know that you're allowed to protest
Yeah,
in public areas,
right.
not private property, but I'll confirm the territory here.
Thank you.
What's public, what's not, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Officer Gomez.
All right.
They're trying to find out if what we're doing is illegal or not.
When you're doing this kind of protest, always print out your ACLU pamphlet on your rights.
So obviously now we have the answer for that.
Okay.
You're allowed to hand out pamphlets.
Cool.
You're allowed to protest as long as you don't block the entrance.
And make sure that all 5 doors are visible.
All right.
So when people come up, they can choose any one of the 5 that they want to enter. I'd appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and your name?
Emery.
Emery, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Lieutenant
you.
Shute.
We don't get What the officer just explained is that we have the right to be here. So they confirmed for us that we are absolutely within the law with the presentation that we're doing now. So it's not magic. It's actually just a performance. We know how to do it. We have someone who can read you right now. Anytime there's a psychic somewhere in LA base, and we do our damnedest to show up and let people know, give them information about it. That's okay, Bill.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
What did that lady say? We told her, she goes, what's going on in here? We said, a guy who says he can talk to the dead. And she goes, ah, come on.
I will not let anyone stop me from losing my money. I will lose my money.
Don't let facts get in the way. I'm
You won't
going in
stop
here.
me from walking in there and making John Edward get between me and my loved ones. Nobody!
So that's Emery Emery. His real name is Emery Emery. He has a Wikipedia page. You can check it out. Emery Emery is a video editing kind of guy, and Heather Henderson, they have podcasts, Skeptically Yours and Ardent Atheists, and they're not so active on it as much as they were, but they're doing something with Brian Denning, a movie he's writing, working on. So anyway, so that's activism. So again, as I said, the targets in that wasn't necessarily the people coming to the venue, because we're just going to look like assholes, right? But what we're trying to get at is the group, because the group is loosely just like kind of floating around out there. We should do something, somebody should do something, they should do something. And we're just saying, all right, John Edwards coming, let's go. Show up on this day at this time, and we'll have signs for you or not. And wear comfortable shoes, you're going to be on your feet for a while. It's going to last 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever long time you want. That's what we're doing. And so the idea was to get them to do something. And as Mark said, we're here to piss off John Edward. John Edward has not come back to that venue, Pasadena. And he goes all over the place. I've been checking his website. Pasadena's never been on his tour list since. And that's kind of what we see, is that they don't come back usually, because they know there's a resistance there. They know there's a group of skeptics that's going to do this, and that's, John Edward does not want any light shine on him. It's just like, you know, the emperor has no clothes. If somebody says, you know, they're shallow kind of people that, you know, they're used to being gloried on all the time. They don't want skeptics doing any kind of activism against them. That would be, no, that's not good. Okay, so moving on here. This video, by the way, is on the website if you want to be able to do this. I have another video for you that I think that you might like. Let's see. I have 2 screens. They're both black. I assume this is the second video.
This venue is difficult because people are lining up inside.
So let's see if I can make it go to the next slide. Okay, this is again another psychic thing. This is at TAM 2010 or 11. something like that. And we found out that Sylvia Brown was going to be at one of the casinos down the road, and she was going to have a show there, okay? So Sylvia Brown and Mark Edward and I and James Randi have a long history of wanting to expose. So again, the goal in this case is to get people who are just like you guys, just hanging around, to go down to this casino and protest. We had Ben Radford, who had a big banner printed up a long time ago that said convicted felon, Sylvia Brown, and she is a convicted felon, by the way, for fraud. Well, she's dead now. But Sylvia, no. So he had this banner, and he would mail it to a skeptic group that was going to be at her venue so that they could actually have a group, local group go out. And a few people did it. There was like, it got passed around a few times. So when Mark found out that Sylvia was going to be at the same time Tam was here, Mark was really upset, and he kept going to the JRF going, we need to do something. What are we going to do? What is it you guys got planned? But they had things scheduled at the time and everything, and Mark's like, no, we got to do something. Like, So Mark is the type that doesn't take no for an answer, and he says, let's do something. So what he did is he printed up these green, bright green, you'll see them in here, pieces of paper, bright green, 4 on a page, and it had the most egregious flaws that Sylvia had had. It said nothing else except the name of these things that she had done that were bad. People that she had said were living but were actually dead, or people who died and were actually, that kind of thing. And the goal was to try to get people to Google it, to say, who's this? What's this about? And they Google it and find out about this thing. But again, the goal wasn't necessarily to educate people, it was to get people like you all involved in doing some kind of activism for fun and to piss off Sylvia Brown, because you know it did. They had her team out there. I'm pretty sure that's the video that's coming up next. Oh, you know what? If it isn't this one, let me see what this one is. I just gotta, sorry. This might be Sylvia Brown. Okay, wait, I gotta stop. This, I'm gonna reverse it. This is Mark Edward. This is Sylvia Brown in the Gibson Amphitheater in 2009. So again, this is the very beginning of our activism. Mark and I had just met. I'm not at this venue, but Mark wanted to go and get a reading. Okay, how do I say this? So Mark is going to get in line to get a reading from Montel Williams and Sylvia Brown, who are on stage. You guys know who Montel Williams is? Okay. Yeah. So they both, Montel Williams and Sylvia Brown, know darn well that she is a Greek vampire and she's fake. They know it. They have to. They also, Mark is going to get in line to get a reading from her. Now, he had all these tickets. Different people went to the event, and they all gave them to Mark. And so only certain people could get up and get a question answered. How many people were there? Thousands? 30,000? 10,000?
No, it's maybe 500.
Oh, it's got to be more than that, isn't it? Anyway, so he was, even if he didn't get a ticket called with his number, he was going to just get in line anyway. So what you're going to see is what happens. He's trying to get to Sylvia and Montel, not to the audience. So that's what you're about to see. Hope you like this one.
The end of the story
It's a little different. I'm going to read out.
So listen to how what Montel says, and
I'm going to, I read your number, and you're closer to, split the scroll right down the middle of the page, running up the aisle. If you're seated on this side, I want you to go to this microphone. If you're seated on this side, I want you to go to this microphone. And as soon as I call your number, start heading that way. Here we go. 40. All the numbers start with 40. So I'm going to read the last 4 numbers. 1725, 2131, 2360, 2528, 1756. Okay. If I called your number, if you know you're on it, I'm going to this microphone.
Yeah. I need to know what career path I should really be taking, because I'm going to be going to college, and I need to know what I'm going to be most successful in. Design. Design. Okay.
It's fair.
My question is, who do you think she's with on the other side?
She's with a balding male. She's with a large dog. And with a little bitty woman.
And does she have any message for me?
Well, honey, that is a message to tell you who these people are.
Okay.
He really wanted to go at the age in which he passed.
And what was that age?
Well, he was young.
What do you mean by young?
I don't know what I'm saying.
I'm questioning you. What do you mean he was young?
Wait.
Respectfully.
Let's slow down and slow roll. The question was, tell me about her. She answered that. She said young. You want a specific age? Is that what you're saying, sir?
What do you mean by young?
Well, I think he thought he was young. See, I'm 73 and I think I'm young. And he thought he was young.
I really want to become RN. Will I become RN?
Yes, you will. Actually, you'll become an OR.
Thank you. I love you, Sylvia.
I love you too.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Sylvia. I keep having these visions. I have a spirit, and the spirit sends me these images, these dreams. And I keep seeing these people, and I want to know these names. If you can explain some of these names, because it's just in my head and they're driving me crazy. Somebody named Opal Joe Jennings, somebody named Farrell.
These are all your guys you're picking up.
No, they're not guys. They're
Yes,
dead.
they are.
They're dead. Who's Linda?
Guys are on the other side. Don't you call that dead?
Who's Linda McClellan? Why does somebody named Holly Kirshon? They're dead, but they're pissed.
No, they're not.
And they're in this, and there's also these people that they're in a mine shaft. It just.
No, you're getting visions. You have to ask God to take them away. You have to ask God to take them away.
Okay, well, we'll help him. Is he okay?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. You have a question. Okay.
Yeah, hi, Montel. Hi, Sylvia. For some reason, I can't hold a job, and I keep seeing dreams that I'm going to get let go, and then they happen. So I don't know why.
No, you will get a job. You'll get a job that's pretty high up in postal service, though.
One question. Do I have spirits?
No, just please.
Yes, over here. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I wondered if you see me in a relationship next year. So.
No, in 2.5 years.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to know about my uncle Richard. He passed away 2 years ago, and he used to always come to me with the lights going on and off in my son's room with all that stuff. And I was wondering if you could tell me.
No, he'll come back again.
So he didn't cross over still?
No, they stop and then they come back again.
My question is that it, or am I going to?
No, that's it.
They tried that it made me feel embarrassed for humankind, that people can be so gullible. I actually thought she was going to be much better than she was. She was just unbelievably bland and even mean and cruel at some points, I thought. So we must do something about this. It's going to get worse if we don't do something. So I tried to do my part, and I'll keep trying to do my part, even if it just gets to her. It may not get to the audience, but hopefully it'll get to her in some way. That's really my goal. You have to cut the head off the snake.
Cut the head off the snake. Really well done. So I don't know why we did the video because we look out there.
Take out your tickets, folks.
All right.
I'm going to read out some numbers.
So what happened afterwards, Mark got into the EMT area after her goons hired security, kind of escorted her back there. And she was trying to get his name and address and all that, do his vital signs, and then Mark's friends that were there with him came in and they're like, Mark, did you take your medication today? You know, and oh, you just had low blood sugar and you just passed out. So they tried to get him out without getting his name and everything. And when she started to go into, no, I have to fill out these forms kind of thing, Mark started telling her, no, actually, here's what it is. We punked Sylvia Brown because she can't speak to dead people. Nobody could, you know, so she was telling him all this, and then I guess he mentioned that he's also been doing psychic stuff in the past, but it's all fake. That was the whole intention. And the EMT woman, she's like, oh, okay, well, I'll let you go. And she didn't work for Sylvia, she worked for the venue. And as Mark was leaving, she said, wait a minute, He goes, yes, and she says, is my boyfriend gonna get it? Mark's like, did you not hear what we were saying? It's fake. You can't talk to the camera. I know, but is my boyfriend gonna get it? So that was a sad thing. Mark just was like, can you, oh my gosh. Okay, still hear me okay? It seems to be moving. So that was an example of getting to Sylvia and Montel. They knew damn well what he was doing. They knew those names that he was reading off. It wasn't for anybody else in the audience. It was for Sylvia and Montel. And you could tell how she was like, oh, shit, you know? She's like, because if you were to Google those names, you're going to find out that these are all people that she messed up.
The slips were passed out, too.
Did you have slips of this paper? I can't remember. They would hand them out to the audience, people with the slips. Leave them in the bathroom, the slips, these green slips I was talking about. And so you saw the skeptic get up in the audience and he said, when did my dad die? How old was he? And everybody's like, what a jerk. You know, they applauded her when she said, you know, the Dodge, because he looks like a jerk. That doesn't go off well if we do that kind of thing, because if we do that kind of thing, we just don't look, it doesn't reach the audience, and Sylvia gets a clap, and everybody loves Sylvia a little bit more. But the thing that Mark did showed how callous she is. Did you see that? She's like, next question. You know, yeah, the guy just passed out.
They stepped over my body.
They stepped over her body to get to the microphone. And the person who was running the microphone was Sylvia's son, Chris. So he took the whole microphone stand and everything, the most noise he could make to get that on there. Wow. So that was fun. That was a blast. Okay. So, let's see. I do still want to show you that other. Let me see what's next. Okay, so I think we're going to talk about Scientology. This is a fun thing. Everybody loves Scientology. Isn't this the most fun thing to watch? Yes, sir?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no.
I don't know any people, you know, Sylvia, Montel, the internet.
I'm so glad you don't know who they are.
No, just
because
just for my purposes.
They're psychics that were.
I was wondering if you could just introduce.
Okay.
Like, just spend like 15 seconds.
Okay, Sylvia Brown.
Study psychics or anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you don't know who they are, because in a lot of ways we're so married to these things because we live it and breathe it so much, and we feel like everybody must know who Sylvia Brown is. Sylvia Brown was a very popular psychic, the psychic, on a TV show. It was like a morning talk show called Montel Williams, who was not a psychic. He was just a guy who had a talk show like Phil Donahue, Ricky Lake. Those are names you might remember. So Montel Williams had Sylvia Brown on like 100 times, and she would just do these kind of readings like you saw. And she's dead now, but she's really famous for James Randi calling her out on CNN. She was endorsed a lot by Larry King. So she was one of the most famous psychics that we had back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And John Edward is also a psychic that's still touring, doing the same kind of thing. And he's known for South Park doing an episode called The Biggest Douche in the Universe. And it's hilarious. You gotta watch South Park's Biggest Douche in the Universe thing. Okay, so Scientology. I love this. I read 2 blogs a day when I get up in the morning about Scientology, because this is just the most craziest cult. And it is so exciting to listen to. And people are getting braver and braver about speaking out about Scientology, because we're after Anonymous, that phenomenon where people were wearing the masks and coming out, which really had a lot of effect on people in Scientology. We know people who, people who came out of Scientology said that that was one of the critical things that made them come out, is how these people were coming out and protesting them. And they couldn't understand why they weren't allowed to see these protesters and what the signs were that the protesters were holding. So we know that that was effective. They would have people in a building here and a building there. The Scientologists need to get from here to there. They would put them in a bus with the windows blacked out, drive them across the street and let them out from there, so that they wouldn't be walking across the protesters, because they could avoid them. Or they would steer them around some way so they would not see the protesters. So that was the Anonymous movement, Scientology. But since then, Scientology isn't as litigious as it used to be, because they just can't do it. There's too much activism. There's book after book after book after book coming out on Scientology. So we're seeing the decline of Scientology in real time, and it's exciting to watch. So this woman, her name is Erin Hodges Plum. She's just somebody, nobody famous or anything like that. This is probably the first time anybody's ever spoken about her in a lecture of any kind. There is a Scientology area, it's called IntBase, down here in by San Ysidro in California. It's kind of by Southern California, Hemet, but it's kind of close to nowhere people are land, you know, in California. It's like an hour or so away from Hollywood and stuff. So they own a huge park area. I guess it's like a golf course or something. It's a big area that they keep up, and it's beautiful, and people rent it out because Scientology is in very bad shape of needing, you know, money, and they try to look like they're doing a good thing. So what she did, Erin Hodge Plum did, is she started going to these public events, and she would go around and she would take this book on escaping Scientology, and she'd walk around meeting people in the venue, knowing fully well that there's Scientologists there, and leaving the book in various places and taking pictures of it there, just to piss them off, you know? And so she was having fun doing that, and then she got evicted. They said, you know, you can't come to any events anymore. She says, fine. So she started noticing that these people are doing fundraising things. These are not Scientology organizations, but people who rent the facilities really cheap so that they can have their dance or whatever there. So she's like, okay, fine, game on. I'm going to let every single one of these people know, and it's public knowledge, that there is that they're going to an event that's sponsored by Scientology. So she's had some good success. By the way, if you're really into Scientology or want to be, Tony Ortega has a blog called The Underground Bunker. He is the expert on Scientology. You definitely want to watch that. It's great. So she's contacting these charities, and she went to the Kiwanis. Is somebody saying that right? The Kiwanis. They were trying to have a fundraiser there, and she said, "Hey, did you know that the groundskeepers, the cooks, the maintenance people, all the people who are working in this facility are working for pennies an hour, and they're working like, you know, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, no days off? Did you realize they're basically slaves here?" And the Kiwanis are like, "Oh, well, we're getting the place for free, and we don't really have anything to do with Scientology." And she says, "Well, you know, you are supporting Scientology by having your event here." I believe the Kiwanis canceled. Then there was another one called CASA, which is a human trafficking division. This is a, you know, public, it has nothing to do with Scientology. And if you know anything about Scientology, they kind of are doing human trafficking, okay? So she went to the CASA people and she says, "Hey, you guys, do you know that this is you're in a Scientology place, and that they do human trafficking of people from all over these other countries, and they take their passports from them so they can't leave," and on and on. They're like, "Well, we're not going to use Scientology workers. We're just going to have our own people." And she's like, "Yes, but the groundskeepers, the people who are running the facilities, the people behind the scenes, the reason why this place is in such great shape is because they're slaves basically here." And they're like, "Oh," and they canceled. And then she also went to the National Alliance for Mental Health to try to have their... Scientology is so psychiatry. I mean, so... If you go in Hollywood, they have a museum devoted to the abuses of psychology. Psychiatry. Yes, yeah. Yeah, you heard me. So she wrote to this National Alliance for Mental Health, sent them an email and said, do you have any idea that you're using the facilities of Scientology? Do you know what Scientology, their main platform is? And they didn't write her back, but they canceled. So this woman she's trying to, since Scientology has this place open for all nonprofits, she's now trying to get a fundraiser set up for the Aftermath Foundation, which is that Leah Remini show that's been on TV. It's on its 3rd season now. That's anti-Scientology, you know, talking about it. So they're a nonprofit. So she's trying to use the Scientology facilities to get the aftermath there, and hopefully they'll say no. And if they say no, then she'll be like, "Hey, I thought you had this open to everybody, you know? We're a nonprofit too." So this is what one person has done. She's pissing off the Scientologists. She's getting all these people who are trying to go to the venue to use it, she's getting them to cancel their events, just one after another. And it's just amazing because it's just doing a little research on the internet and just calling or emailing these people up, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that was Scientology. Oh, okay, I'm going to cancel that event." And that says a lot. That's a very powerful thing to do. Okay? Now, I have another one. Psychic bingo. You guys ever seen this? Okay, so a lot of skeptic groups like the idea of going to an event like a Sylvia Browne or a John Edward event, and they want to infiltrate it and just piss people off and, you know, whatever. Well, I don't necessarily advocate for that. I think it's more important to do something more subtle. Again, you're only going to look like an asshole when you go to these things. But this is something I'm going to pass on to you that many people have done. And you can find these all over the internet. These are bingo cards that you can hand out. So your skeptic group can hand out to the people going in and say that, you know, if you'd like to play bingo during the event, they could, you know, it's just a way of saying this is cold reading. And some people just throw these on the ground, and some people just go, oh, that's really cool. And then, you know, there's different things that have happened. There's websites that you can get if you really want to get information about this. This is a lot of fun. This one's devoted to Sylvia Browne. It can be changed to any psychic you want. Oh yeah, I'm going to do it next. Okay, so if you get somebody there who's like got the kind of personality to be, you know, like Mark's personality, that's like outgoing and doesn't mind doing something and embarrassing themselves, or an unknowing person, you hand out these cards and you can put them in the bathrooms, you can put them in the venue, you can put them in all different kinds of places. But especially if you get an unknowing person, you can get them to say, there's going to be prizes for the bingo. So you get somebody in the audience who's got their bingo cards filling it out, and all of a sudden jumps up and goes, bingo! You know, that's got to kind of ring the mood. And everybody's going to laugh. And John Edward is going to be like, because he knows damn well what's going on, that these things are infiltrating, especially if they're in bright color, especially if they're in the bathrooms. They can't do anything about it, right? It's just one way of just getting to John Edward or whatever psychic is on there, and they can do nothing about it, especially if it's an unknowing person. Or you can get your skeptic group, maybe there's 8 people, and you put them in different places in the audience, and they just turn to their neighbor next to them, and they just make friends with the neighbor. Who are you here to see? Oh, that's great, I'm here to see. And then whenever the psychic makes a mistake, you do this. Laugh. You laugh as loud, and oh my God, that's so funny, you just messed it up, did you see that? You know? And you get people around the room and you start them tittering. And everybody's laughing. And if you have to start it off with your own people, that's fine. Don't sit in a group. Sit whatever there, whatever there, whatever there. And start and get, you know, make friends with people around you before and after. And guess what? The whole mood of that place is going to change. And the psychic can't come back and get it back. They're just like, off game, you know, I'm off my game, you know, how am I going to get these people back? Because you've just embarrassed them. So they can't kick you out. They can't do anything to you. So instead of getting up and challenging the psychic, saying, when did my dad die? How old was he when he died? Instead of doing that and being a jerk, just laugh. It's the easiest activism you can absolutely find. Okay, so this one is the video I was going to show you. Okay, here we go. This is at town. We got great music, right? There's
Anyone here to see Sylvia Browne? You're all here to see Sylvia Browne? Okay. Sylvia Browne, I've never heard of her, that's a good thing. She talks to dead people, unfortunately, they don't talk back. Never Sylvia Browne, that's the grieving parents. Sylvia Browne's here tonight, my prediction is she's gonna steal your money. The only thing worse than losing your child is having this woman lie to you about it. Then please stand for her, ladies and gentlemen. Sylvia Browne. Who are these people? Get them out! Do something! Find out how Sylvia Browne is able to tell you things. Here's the psychic secret. Squeeze page 1. She tells you things you already know. There's the secret of the right here. The Trump is dead.
Just Google Opal Toe Jennings.
psychic? Anyone here see Sylvia Brown? Sylvia Brown, most disgusting fingernails you've ever seen. That's it all from the Jack William character. Listen to her croak like a frog. She'll only buy cigarettes and booze. Jack William breath is an insecticide. These psychics take her fingernails and they use them to make the secrets of TWA's Medusa. She's here tonight.
Okay, that was at a town. And there we found, so all we did is we found a horse's ass down at the South Point town. And I said, everybody who wants to go, meet at the horse's ass downstairs. And people just showed up. And so we just said, all right, let's get taxis, we're going. And people went. Nobody, was nothing arranged other than the convicted felon sign and Mark having those little signs already made up. And they were doing construction out in front. That's why you saw that construction there. It sounds funny. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So that was a lot of fun. So that was just another thing of getting us activated. And some of those people there were actually Sylvia's people. That was my voice saying, just Google Opal Joe Jennings. And she's like, I was trying to tell the manager, that was Sylvia's manager, that, you're really harming people. This isn't for entertainment. Okay. So this is the horse's ass. There's something like that here. I wish we had a psychic we could go see. There's James Randy right there. He didn't go with us. There I am. There's Mark. There's my son. All these different people who went. It was a lot of fun. And then this is just the most egregious things. Again, we just wanted people to Google it. Okay. So I'm getting down to the wire, and I've got some more stuff to do. I hope everybody okay? You guys can just stand up. You're right. Okay. Let's get a little more complicated. So I did 4 operations, and I'm going to try to very quickly explain these to you. Anybody know what these operations are? And this is all on my website besides Mark. These are Operation Bumblebee. This Chip Coffey, who was a psychic, who still is out, he did Psychic Kids, which I think is actually a harmful thing because you're telling kids that they're psychic. It's not, there's monsters under your bed or whatever. You're an actual medium yourself. And then we did Operation Ice Cream Cone with James Von Prague and Tim Braun. And then we did Operation Pizza Roll and Operation Peach Pit. And I have not revealed the results of these because I was waiting for an article to come out that's hopefully going to come out soon in the New York Times Magazine. So I'm going to reveal to you some of the results because
we're tired of
waiting. So we've been holding it off. Operation Bumblebee and Ice Cream Cone, you can find these easily on the website, that abouttimeproject. Whatever, the one I keep giving you. Operation Pizza Roll and Peach Pit, like I said, we haven't released too much. I'm going to give you a little bit. Now this is a hot reading. Everybody knows what a cold reading is, right? General statements. Hot reading means that they know something about you. And I have this little tiny little bit of Mark reading at CSICon last year. He did a cold reading workshop. This is very quick.
Okay, because I get something really spectacular about you, okay? Can you see me standing up here? Yes. Okay. This is just for you. Tell me why I'm getting this. You're laughing, but does that mean anything to you?
It certainly does.
Why is that important to you? I'm asking a question so you can fill in the blank.
Tai Chi.
You do Tai Chi. Thank you. I appreciate your applause, but Stephen, I am weak-handed. You're a very healthy person. You eat healthy, is that true? Like I said, we try to eat healthy. Health and wellness and big bowl of chestnuts. Yes? Yes. Big bowl I want people to say there's no way in the world he could know that. Save it, because I may have some more for you, okay? And you grew those chestnuts, am I right? Yes. Yes. All right, let's see what I can do.
Okay, so that is a hot reading. Just like you are sitting in this workshop with me right now, that was last year. Same kind of thing. He did a cold reading workshop. We got a hold of everybody's names that were going to be in the workshop. I could get that if I wanted to. How hard would it be for me to go and look at your Facebook profiles? Not every one of you has a Facebook profile. I only need like 10 of you, 8 of you in the audience. I don't have to be your Facebook friend. I don't have to be your Facebook friend. All I need to do is get enough information. Somebody wishing you a happy birthday. You just went to your daughter's wedding. You have a chestnut tree and you have a whole bunch of chestnuts on your chestnut tree and you're giving them out to people. That's all I need. And we gave it to Mark. Mark went through and got a little bit more information, and he did a cold reading workshop, and throughout he interspersed it with hot reads of all these people he didn't even know. And they were like, wait a minute. How could you know that? And Mark's favorite line is, there's no way I could have possibly known it, but that's a hot read. So what my goal was, is I put together these things, and I use Facebook. Everybody here kind of understands Facebook, even if you're not on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I use use Facebook almost exclusively for all of my stings that I do. And I name these myself. So,
okay.
Whoops, okay. So I use Facebook. I'm going to try to explain this. All right, Facebook's free. I have a lot of Facebook accounts that are not linked to my personal page. They're Facebook characters that have been created years ago. We have a bunch of them that have lives, they have names, they have cat videos, they have coffee and fights with their coworkers at work. They're just accounts that exist out there, okay? And those accounts can talk to each other. They're all friends with each other. And we lock the accounts down, and that means what that means is that nobody can see those accounts except for the small group of friends. So we'll create a storyline or a character. We're going to go see a psychic. And what we want to do is we want those characters to go to the psychic event. Like if you guys were at a show for a psychic and I was a psychic, we want those characters to sit in the audience and attend. But those characters can't be, like let's say it's him right here. It can't be his real name. It can't be his real life. It has to be a fake life this man has. A fake name, or close to his name, some kind of name like his, but not him. So when he goes to the event, and the psychic is standing there going, I'm getting chestnuts, then we know that the psychic is getting it from the Facebook page that is fake. Do you guys get it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of one of these things that's hard to explain. I need to make sure that the psychic is only getting it from the Facebook page, because we're trying to catch them in a hot read. Because we can catch them cold readings all day long. But hot readings are harder to catch. And so this New York Times reporter said, if you could catch somebody in a hot read, we'll do a story on you, and that'll be a big deal for the New York Times Magazine. So I'm like all over that. I'm going to find a way of doing it. Now what we did is we double blinded it. And this is really important. Again, this is something that nobody else has ever tried to do. And my son gave me the credit for it. I mean, he did it because, so make sure you see him Friday or Saturday or Sunday. He said, yes, we know you. You're the one who thought this up. It had to be blinded. So if he goes to the event, what's your first name? Chris. Chris Smith. We're going to call him Chris Smith because that's not his real last name, right?
So far.
Good. So Chris Smith is going to attend that psychic event. We're going to take a picture of him, but it's not going to be a Google picture, like something you could Google search. Somebody will take a picture of him, and we'll use it for his profile. Now, Chris Smith is going to sit in the audience, and he's not going to know what's on that Facebook page. It's blinded. I said, Chris, could you go to this event? Here's your itinerary. Here's all you know. You want to speak to your sister. Her name is Elizabeth. She died 2 years ago. That's all you need. Have a good time. And you're going to go, and you are going to go, and you have a dog named Francine. And I'm giving him just a little tiny bit, but he can't know what's on that Facebook page. So these people who are attending are different people than actually run the Facebook pages. So I have people all over the world who are running the Facebook pages. They can do it for days, weeks, months, just running like storylines where they're talking to each other about work or whatever. And when we say we're going to go see a psychic, we say, all right, we need to be, the psychic is going to be on this day, at this time, in this city. So those fake Facebook pages have to build up the storyline, and it has to end on the day that we're going to go see the psychic. So they can be talking to each other about having dreams about their brother who had died, or Elizabeth who had died, and how they want to see their dog, or whatever, and it builds up, and somebody else in the Facebook group says, oh, you know what, there's a psychic that's going to be in your area, I hear he's really good. They can tag that psychic, which means that psychic is getting a notification that somebody's talking about him, because again, it's not psychic. And he can come over and read that discussion. You guys getting this? About the dog or about Aunt Elizabeth. And then the psychic's reading this stuff, and the conversation within the Facebook group again is like, oh, I had a fight with my boss at work, or oh, I tripped and hurt my leg, and all these different things. It's real. They look real. They look like the real people. And I have people, like I say, all over the world who run these Facebook groups. I just go on Facebook, I say, who's up for a 3-week Facebook thing? Who's good with Facebook? I need you to take on this character, you take this character, you take that character, and you know, and then they just work on that. Then I find people who are going to attend. I find sitters. I say, who lives in Philadelphia? We just did it in Philadelphia. And I'll say, who lives in Philadelphia, who's free on this night to go to this event? I will pay for your VIP pass. And they'll say, I'll go. And then we create the character with their face and their conversation and send them to the event, and then we film it if we can, or we at least wire remotely to it. So I've done this a bunch of times. So we call him. This guy is Thomas John. It's the first time I revealed his name in public. Actually, this guy's in Hollywood. And Thomas John, Thomas John has a TV show out right now called Seatbelt Psychic on the Entertainment Network. Just came out. This guy's got a TV show. So we call him. Mark and I went as a married couple. We weren't married. We aren't married. And exactly like we said, people created characters in the background of Mark wanting to reach his father who had health issues, heart problems. And now that Mark has reached that age in his life, he's starting to have health problems, and now he's worried. That was all Mark knew. Didn't know the father's name, didn't know anything. I was trying to reach my dead twin brother named Andrew, who had died a year before of pancreatic cancer. That's all I knew. We sat down, and we put on cold reading meetings. Like, Mark has nothing to do with the military, but he had a military pen that for the Marines, somebody he'd borrowed, so that in case that psychic doesn't hot read, because we didn't know, they would do a reading with him, and they might see the military stuff and start doing a reading that was aimed towards somebody in the Marines. And Mark would just agree, you know, we don't know. So we're sitting in the audience, we don't know. We have to buy VIP passes, and that's another thing that's important. If you attend anything like this, you must sit here. You cannot sit back there, because you're not going to get called on, and they want your money. The money is up here. This is where the $200, $300 price is at. Back there it's $75. Psychics, skeptics don't want to buy the big dollar ticket because they don't want to give the psychic money, but you're not going to get anywhere if you're sitting there. So we did a bunch of these. So Thomas, this is Mark with his Kleenex. So he's turning it into knots. Okay, so I've got some audio for you. This is the psychic coming up to me. I only know enough to raise my hand whenever they call my particular person. And they bring over a microphone and Kleenex, and that's important. They have boxes of Kleenex because they know it's going to affect you.
Somebody's twin. Yeah. I have to tell you, just as soon as I'm tapping into you, somebody's making me aware of cancer. Is this your brother? Did he have cancer?
Yes.
Okay, because he's showing cancer, and I get in here, which to me would show his stomach or pancreas. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So he's stepping forward. Now this feels quite recent to me in terms of he didn't die a long time ago, right?
No. Okay, that was me playing the part of Susanna, because we thought we would have to have ID to get in, so we had to have a name that's close to us. So I used Susanna. And so we've tagged the venue. We walked into the venue. We go in, sit down. I take out my phone. I have a team of people somewhere else, maybe in Australia. I'm in. And they go over to the fake Facebook page. Remember, I have no access to this Facebook page. It's fake. And they put Susanna checked in to the venue. You guys got that? So now the psychic and his team behind the scenes knows that Susanna's at the event. And they can look at all of Susanna, who she wants to read, who her family is, who her friends are, what it is that she's there for. And oops, here's some of the Facebook pages. Here's Susanna Forsyth Wilson. Here I am. This is a Facebook picture that looked like me, but he couldn't. It wasn't Googleable. And here's some of the conversations they're having. I don't want you guys to read it in depth because it's long, but I'm talking about how amazing. I'm hoping to see my brother, my twin brother, and you know he died of pancreatic cancer. And here's a pancreatic cancer fundraiser. Please support it. Pancreatic cancer awareness. And so the psychic, we think, is God in your piece. You couldn't see it, but he stood perfectly still, and he just closed his eyes, and then he would read, and then we think there's somebody in the background who's just reading the Facebook pages to him. That's what I think. So, and he's just like going over. Now remember, at this point, I just shot, that's all I know. My brother's name is Andrew. He died of pancreatic cancer in 2013. That's all, and my twin, that's all I know. There's some more audio. There's just little tiny bits.
Is there a connection at all to Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay, what is there?
Well, that's where we're from.
Oh, you're from there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because for some reason I was seeing the state of Michigan. Okay. So that's where your brother, you and him grew up there and stuff?
Well,
spend time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I need to tell you also too.
I know nothing about Michigan. I know nothing about what he's talking about. Remember, I'm blocked out of this Facebook page. I don't have a clue. I'm just faking it. And I'm crying, pretending to cry and all this. So what happened is I texted after this is over, I texted my team, I said, what's this to do with Michigan? And they're like, I don't know, what's this got to do with Michigan? So my team's all like, what the heck, I don't know, nobody put anything about Michigan. And they put all sorts of stuff that could be found. And what we found is that somebody, just as filler on the Facebook page, put this screenshot of Frenchmanstown Creek, Cornwall. They just put that up, just as filler. And then we Googled Frenchman's Creek, Cornwall, which is in England, by the way. And we found out it's Michigan, Cornwall Creek. This is what comes up when you Google it. It's in Michigan. Busted, right? So the only way he would have known that, even my team didn't know this. So this is how he got Michigan. There's another one. I've got a few of these. Come on now.
But somebody's talking about they were smoker, and they quit. I think it's your brother. Is that true? Did he smoke and then quit? Did he quit smoking?
Several.
No, your brother, the twin.
Oh, my brother?
Yes.
No,
but I think it's your brother, your twin. Did he quit smoking?
Yes.
Okay, so he quit smoking.
So we don't know anything about smoking. Mark and I are arguing amongst ourselves. No, it's my brother. No, it's your brother. No, it's my brother. And the psychic said, no, it's the twins' brother. We don't know. We don't know anything. So we were like, again, I asked the team, I said, what's that all about? And they said, oh, somebody put, you know how they have those life events on Facebook? Andy, who's my twin, who died. I don't have a twin brother. I don't have a brother who died. He had quit smoking in 2013. Somebody just put that on there, just not even thinking about it. And the psychic went that far back looking, or the psychic's friend in the background, went that far back to find a quit smoking thing. Another buster. Here's another. I think this is Mark's turn now.
So your dad passed from heart problems, is that correct? Okay. I want to tell you also, I feel this was not a recent death. Is that correct? With your dad?
No.
He didn't die recently. Now, I don't want to scare you, but have you had your heart checked?
Yes.
Okay. You need to stay with that. You need to stay with that. They're telling me, your dad's telling me, it's not as bad as you think, but I feel like you're almost obsessing about it, actually. Like, I almost feel like you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like one thing was told to you, and now you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But your dad is saying, not as bad as you think.
I can't
But,
sleep.
right, well, that would be, because you're obsessing about it, but your dad is saying, it's not as bad as you think. Now, you must be going for a test in the next 7 days, is that correct? In the next week?
No, I just had some.
Oh, you just had some tests,
Yeah.
okay. And have they not told you everything yet?
No.
Okay, so, because I'm seeing in the next
That's
7
why
days.
I came here today.
Okay, well, here we go. So, there's something in the next 7 days. There's something in the next 7 days that you're going to hear about. And like I said, I see it being kind of mixed. It might be something where it's like, this needs to be changed or that needs to be changed. But it's not going to be like a death sentence or something like you are feeling. Now, I want to just share with you, and obviously, medical stuff comes through. I always tell people, it's like, you have to, obviously, you go to your doctor and stuff, but they know about things and they'll share things. It's usually more like how they're doing it now, like it's an energetic thing. So, like I said, I just feel like you need, and your dad is showing me it's passed down. So there's definitely, there's a passed down thing. Go handle the heart problems. That's.
I hit the button twice. Okay, so this is probably where he's getting all that information from, Mark's Facebook page. Of course, Mark has no access to his Facebook page. But do you think there's anything on here about heart disease and that Mark's really worried about going to see his doctor and so on? So this guy's obviously pulling it from here. Now, Mark did know that it was something to do with heart problems, but that's about it. So I'm not going to spend too much more time on this sting because there's so much that we did. We recorded everything, and they gave us permission to record by the manager at the very beginning said, make sure you record your reading. We're like, hey, yeah. Plus, I had a wire that was on the whole time anyway, so it was being recorded anyway, so whether they gave me permission or not. But what ended up happening is, obviously, we caught him with the hot reads because he was reading the pages, the Facebook pages, and we have evidence of that. And the reason why, you guys understand why the people attending can't know what's on the Facebook page. Do you understand why? Yeah, it's blinded. Yeah, exactly. It's blinded because, and this is the mistake most people who do these kinds of stings do, is the person who sets it up also knows what the information is. So the psychic could always come back and say, well, I just read your mind. And it's like, they couldn't have read my mind because I didn't know anything. We argued about a dog, we argued, he was talking about Steve, and Mark's like, I don't know Steve. I go, oh, Steve, that was a family friend, and on, and it turned out Steve was his dad. But he didn't know that, and he's like, you don't know who Steve is?
That's when he left us.
Well, the guy knew that there was something wrong, but the whole idea was, I didn't care. At that point, once the guy got up on stage and said, I'm getting a twin brother who wants to reach his sister, and he died recently of pancreatic cancer, we had him. It didn't matter if he said another word out of his mouth after that point. We didn't care. So it was just for me and Mark, like 10, 15 minutes the reading went on. Just to go, Buddy, that was my dad's nickname. Oh, my brother was also named Buddy too. And I, it turned out to be our dog. I have no idea. And I'm crying, I'm pretending my Kleenex, I'm crying, and I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous. He goes, well, we need to move on, so you need to get with it kind of thing, Oh, it's really interesting. So we got his book, Never Argue with a Dead Person. We paid for VIP passes, obviously, $160, I think, a person, something like that. So we got a book, and a little VIP afterwards with him. I'll tell you a very quick story. There was a woman in the audience who was sitting across from Mark a little bit, and she was wearing green, and she wasn't quite crying. She looked like, is this one right here? She looked like she was crying, but she wasn't quite crying. Mark was, he leaned over. She had a Kleenex, and the guy was spot on, boom, 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 boom. We're like, Mark's like, you know, his radar's going, you know. So we got into the VIP room, and the guy's handing out books. Here's a book for you, here's a book for you, here's a book for you. Gets to her, and she looks up at me, and she goes, spell it right next time. You had an E instead of an I.
This time.
This time. Do you think she knows him?
Wait, he admitted
And
it.
then I said in the Q&A, the psychic already knows something's wrong with Mark and I. So, so at the very end I asked the question, I have a question. Do you have any other peers that you really enamor, you know, that you would recommend and stuff like that? And he goes, oh, well, he named some names I'd never heard of. And he goes, and some of my students are just promising. And I said, students, you teach? He goes, yeah, I teach. And he goes over and puts his hand on her. Oops, on her. She's one of his students. She was also in the audience and spot on with it. We have all that. So anyways, we caught this guy. And so, and he has a TV show, my God. So here he is, we're posting. Don't you think he would know that maybe we were skeptics? No. Immediately after, now here's one of the things I'm normally extremely careful, but we put this together in 10 days, from beginning to end. And some of the other things I've done took us 6 months. And we had bad results, just cold reading. But this one we put together very quickly. And one of the things I did was a mistake, is that I bought the tickets to attend using my own Susan Gerbic Eventbrite account. In the past, what I would do is I would go and buy one of those cards, Visa cards at the grocery store, and then buy it through there, so there's no way of tracing it back to my name. This time I was in a hurry, and I've always overthought it, so I thought, I'll just buy it really quick. So I didn't do it this time, and I got, 2 days after the event, I got a tweet to my Susan Gerbic account, and it had just this heart from him. There was no way that Susan Gerbic was linked to that Susan Forsythe Wilson account, Susanna Forsythe Wilson account. There was no link other than my Eventbrite account. And I have that. And apparently the New York Times article is written. It's just not released, and he keeps saying it'll be October. You know, he told us like 3 weeks ago, oh, it's going to be October. So we've been waiting for months for this to come out. I'm just so tired of it. He says he's already talked to the psychic, and the psychic remembers clearly us and the tweet he sent. So this is kind of a way of knowing that the psychics are actually reading your account stuff. They're able to get that information. So if you say, there's no way the psychic could have known, guess what? There's ways he could have known. This is the only link to me and to that account. So I'm going to do a PA thing real quick. So we did another sting because the same reporter wanted to go to an event. He wanted to sit in on it. He wanted to watch it from beginning to end because that's how the New York Times does stuff. So we set up another one. This time I stayed at home in California, and we did the same thing with the psychic, the Facebook groups. So we cleaned out all those accounts, took all the names off of them, gave them new names, new history, new everything. And we went to go see a psychic in Philadelphia who was going to a casino. And I called some friends of mine that live in that area, Kitty Biddle and Donna Biddle, who are here today. And he's talking in a lecture right after me with Joe Nickel. And he and his wife and 4 other friends went to a psychic, and we did the exact same thing. We said, here's your information, here's your information, here's your information. And the New York Times reporter sat in on all the planning. We did it over Skype. And he went to their house where I gave him a briefing of what it is they're going to do. And he sat for everything that happened. So it's going to be a real good report when it comes out. But she wore this blue wig, so she'd stand out in the audience. And she had a reason for why she was wearing the blue wig. And her Facebook thing has it with the blue wig. And all these things and on. They went to the casino in character. And they made friends with everybody and bartenders and buying drinks and anything they could make to make sure it was obvious that they stood out so they'd get called on. Now, there was like 1,000 people in this room, so it was very unlikely that they were going to get called on. And here they are. They did not get called on by the psychic. But we got just cold reading. We got lots of video of him just doing just basic stuff. What he would do is he would say, I'm getting something. He'd say, I want this row. He'd take like that row, and he'd have all of you stand up. And then, this is important, he didn't address you like this. He had the row stand up, and he would come off to the side. and he would point to the row, and he would say, I'm getting a miscarriage. Now, look at the difference between my finger here. If one of you said, oh, that's mine, I had a miscarriage. If I'm pointing to you, look how little I'm moving my finger to point to you. Now, if I'm here, and the 10 people stand up, and I'm the psychic, and I say, I'm getting a miscarriage, and one of you raises your hand, look at how much difference my hand moves to point to you. So if you're off to the side, it looks like I was pointing to you all along. It's one of these things that somebody like Mark, who's a mentalist, who's an actual expert on this, notices these things, and the general public doesn't get that. So he would have them stand up and somebody go, that was me. And if it wasn't the person I was pointing to, it might be the person behind them who was sitting down, or the person who's even farther. But if you're coming from an angle like this, so we were able to catch this. But anyway, here's the psychic. His name is Matt Frazier. And the first guy was the Manhattan medium, who is appearing in Hollywood, but he's mainly in New York, apparently. And this is Matt Frazier. He's more on the East Coast, Pennsylvania. Look at how he's posing with all these fake people who are all skeptics. You would think he would know, right? Obviously he doesn't. But they did a group photo. Here's a group photo with his book. His book. Oh my God, with his book! Because remember, all of these people here, all of these people who are attending don't know what's happening. They don't know if he called on him, and they don't know if any of the video that recorded was for them. He just didn't single them out. We don't know. So we had to go through all that. But again, it's cold reading, pure cold reading. Okay, so I'm almost at the end. That's it. Almost at the end. So I need to show you, so anyway, all this is all available on the website. I have a new thing. It's called facilitated communication. Anybody know what facilitated communication is? Would you believe this pseudoscience was debunked 30 years ago? Yes. And it is still being taught in universities. U.S. public universities is being taught. Facilitated communication, really briefly, is usually used with autistic or severely non-communicative people who maybe are rated at like kindergarten, not even kindergarten, like 2-year-olds. You know, they have no ability to communicate. So what they do is they hold your hand, and it's like a Ouija board, and they point to it. But the key is somebody's touching their hand, holding their shoulder. It's like the clever Hans effect, or maybe I should say a Ouija board effect, or the pendulum effect. You can't hold your hand completely still. The pendulum is going to move no matter how hard you try. Okay, so again, I don't want to give you too much information. It's too much already. So remember, going back to our thing, I said, what is the most important thing to do first? You've got to Google it and see what information is out there. So what I decided is, I'm tired of the academic world writing more articles about facilitated communication. It's debunked. It's junk. We know it. We've known it for years, but nobody's held these universities to account. So I said, fine, I'm not an academic. I'll do it. So I formed a team. And the first thing we did is we went to Wikipedia, and we rewrote the Wikipedia page for facilitated communication, so that when the general public's looking for information, they're going to get damn good information. This is a fantastic Wikipedia page. Look at that, 184 citations. And that's because of my Wikipedia. So I do run this Wikipedia project. You can find out all about it in the book room. We have a table set up. I have people on my team that are going to be there. David, Jeff, who else? She's also in there. They'll be able to answer questions for you. If you see the Wikipedia logo, it's a Wikipedia editing team that concentrates on science, scientific skepticism, and the paranormal. That's all we do. And I teach you how to do this. So we rewrote the Wikipedia page for that, and we also wrote a Wikipedia page for rapid prompting method, which is similar to facilitated communication. Anyway, so we also wrote Wikipedia pages for all the experts who are on our side that are experts on facilitated communication, because we knew that what would happen is the media, when we started making a lot of noise, the media is going to look for experts, and they'll involve their Wikipedia pages for these people. So we did all these people, Scott Littlefield, James Rand, obviously, has already been done. So I had another operation. I'm going to do this really quick. Hunt and peck. Because you can't type without having your hands anchored to something. You can't just type in the air and expect that you can type in the air. So the first thing I tried to do is I was going to come out with a video showing how these people are getting facilitated communication, and the only person looking at the keyboard is a facilitator. Duh. So his eyes are closed. He's looking away. You know, it's like he's got his hand over his face. professor, then guess what? There's no communication, but they won't test it. So we were going to do it, and I'm going to show you this. We wrote, and I got all these experts, 30 experts, 33 experts who have PhDs after their names that are in the medical profession or teaching profession that would have something to do with this. You'll be able to read about this. I'm sorry, I don't want to go into too much detail, but we wrote a very well-crafted, detailed letter. Professional, not, I didn't write it, professionally written, that said to the University of Northern Iowa, that's the one we picked first, because they were doing a workshop. We wrote the letter to them, we said, here, you should be ashamed of yourself, that's basically what we said, but in professional language. This is pseudoscience. This is the information. If you don't know what pseudoscience, this is harmful. You are taking the voices away from the person truly who needs their voice done. You are harming them. There has been case after case after case of abuse, and now that we're sending you this letter, you are culpable. If and when somebody is going to sue, they're coming after you at the university because you're teaching them, and now that we've sent you this letter, the lawyers know you know, because we got proof of that. So we sent that to them and then didn't hear much from them. This is the University of Northern Iowa is the first one we did. They had a institute in June. We did this like in April and May because we wanted them to cancel their workshop. This is their 5th workshop, and they said, no, we're not going to cancel, no big deal, okay? Then they said, we started giving this impression. Here's some of the PhDs on here. Then we went to the media, and we started recruiting local media from Northern Iowa, and we had them writing articles, and we had our skeptic groups, the people in our, worldview, Bill London, Stuart Weiss, all these people who were experts in the field, and we had them write articles. So we had this, so we started embarrassing the university. And then we started tweeting at the university and the dean, and we're just on and on and on. Basically, the message says you should be ashamed for allowing pseudoscience in your university. And we got people who were in the university, who were faculty, who were so embarrassed and could not believe that their university was doing this, but they had no way of contacting anybody. They just were just privately upset. But we got them. We found out who they were. We identified them, and we said, what's going on? What do you hear? And they told us, oh, well, the faculty, the dean is telling us first that we're not canceling. Then they heard they would like to cancel, but they can't. It's too close to the date. And then they said, then we kept on. Like I said, we kept on, and we kept tweeting at them, and more articles written, and more articles written. And I don't know if you know this, but once an article is written in a major newspaper or some kind of place, it can go on Wikipedia, right? It's secondary sources, so who's going to handle that? Well, I have a whole team of Wikipedia people, so we went to the University of Northern Iowa's Wikipedia page. Right under history, it says, controversial support of facilitated communication. Cite. So guess what? If you're supporting facilitated communication and you're a university and you have pride in your university, and your alumni finds out all this, you know what? You should be ashamed. And so I've got this little space right here waiting for them to say, and we're not going to do it anymore, our website. Because I don't want them to just quietly go away and stop supporting Facilitate. I want it on the website or a press release, something we can cite it. So we went to the university and we said, hey, you guys, did you realize your Wikipedia page has been altered? What? So we went, we showed, and they were looking at it going, we can't have that. I'm like, we'll shut it down. So yes, I'm a pain in the ass. Absolutely. In all ways, but I'm telling you, as a skeptic community, we've been too nice. We are not fighting. We're fighting like, oh, but we might hurt somebody's feelings, or it might hurt the reputation of the university, or it might this, or it might that, or the psychic might get mad at people. It's like, I'm tired of that. We have to stand up, even if it's just one of us at a time, and do something. And this was what I did. And I said, if you are embarrassed and you don't want it on your Wikipedia page, then get it off of your university. I was so mad. And look at these spikes of Wikipedia hits. Look at this. This is Northern Iowa. This is you know, up in the 500. So when the students start looking at a university to go to, well, guess what? It's on your Wikipedia page, and I don't care. And then here's some other stats I don't have time for. So we've also got it onto the Facilitated Communication Wikipedia page. Support from University of Northern Iowa. It's been removed twice. 2 people have tried to remove that criticism from University of Northern Iowa with an ISP. You know, they were just trying to remove it, and we traced the ISP to University of Northern Iowa. We're like, bullshit, it's back on. You can't remove it. You don't like the criticism on your Wikipedia page? You can do something about it, get it off of there. So now, the University of Northern Iowa, we're waiting to hear from them. They are ignoring us, but we're not going away. We're going to keep the pressure on them. And now they're saying, we're reevaluating our possibly not doing it, our 6th workshop for facilitated communication. We're reevaluating the controversy of it. We're like, when?
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for it to appear on the website so we can cite it on the Wikipedia page. We moved on to Syracuse, which is the big hub. And we had, oh, this is the dean, poor thing. She doesn't hardly ever tweet at all, but we tweeted at her, not mean, we didn't make fun of her or anything like that. It's like, were you aware of this? Here's another article. Are you aware of this? Are you aware of this pseudoscience? We just kept tweeting to her. She finally locked her page down. And there's been some serious harm. Serious harm coming out of Syracuse. People who are abusing these people, saying that the person told them through facilitated communication that they loved them. This is a Reuters, am I saying right? Professor. She had sex with somebody, a student, that she was doing. The guy is not, he's in diapers, crawling on the floor, and supposedly has fallen in love with her enough that she was able to have sex with him. I think they got like a $4 million suit against him. Here's a guy in Florida just a year ago, not even a year ago, just recently. The police arrested this guy and put him in jail and took his kids away from him for years. He will never have his reputation back, ever. He was accused of raping his son. And the person who accused him of it was the facilitator, not the son, because the son can't communicate at all. And this guy is still happening, and this guy will never have his reputation back. Never. His life is ruined. So, oh, and I'm done, because I have to grab it. Okay, so 2 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed your presentation, your activism. Please go out and do something. Come see us at our table, which is over in the book room. And I hope I've given you a lot to think about and to be able to just say, you know what, maybe I can do something too. Thank you. And I need to give the room to the next person. Thank you, David. Are you tired?
I'm good.